Hey guys, it's CJ and we are back for another recap for Real Housewives of Potomac. So let's go ahead and get started. Now, this episode was season 5, episode 10, titled Sorry, Not Sorry. And before we talk about the episode, guys, make sure that you like this video and definitely feel free to comment your thoughts, any suggestions, and subscribe to my channel so that you'll catch any other content that I put out. But now that we got all that out of the way, this episode started 5 days after the wine barn incident, and we see Candiace, and she's cleaning her house and she's reflecting on what happened, and she's trying to figure out in her mind what she said or did to lead to the said dragging that happened. And then we go to Monique, and Monique is at home with Chris and the kids, and she kind of tells the kids to make sure that they don't wake up at 6 a.m. bothering her and Chris because she is exhausted. She's really tired. And Chris believes that she's probably tired or fatigued from all of the things that have transpired, the fight, the aftermath, and this stuff is kind of weighing on her and it may be making her tired. But she calls Karen because she does feel like she owes the other girls an explanation, that she wants to kind of get her side of the story out. She never really said that she wants to apologize, but she does indeed acknowledge that she did put them in danger or in harm's way when the fight happened. And so Karen is down to get the girls together so that they can all talk about what went down. Now, Karen calls Candiace to let Candiace know about Monique's plan to get the girls together, but she invites Candiace. Now, I recall Monique telling her, I want to get the girls together, obviously without Candiace. And Karen, in turn, invites Candiace to this sit down, which I'm glad that Candiace declined because, I mean, that would have just been a problem on top of the problem that they already have. But Candiace feels like, Monique does not need to be shown that type of grace. And Karen disagrees, but what type of grace does she not need to be shown? Yeah. Whatever. So then we go to the day of the event, or the event that is happening, and Giselle gets there. Well, no, let me backtrack. I'm gonna backtrack a little bit because we see the women, Wendy, Robin, Giselle, they're all kind of at home or talking, and they are all automatically saying that Monique is wrong and there's really nothing that Monique can say to defend her actions or what she did that night. So they already have in their mind that they're not going to really be receptive to what she has to say, but whatever. So Giselle and her extra ass shows up to Karen's house with this big ass bodyguard, KB, her personal security. I guess she felt like Monique is a loose cannon, a ticking time bomb, and she doesn't know what might go down. So she wants to have somebody to protect her in the event that Monique gets on her ass too. I think that was just so extra because at this moment, this woman is sort of on an apology tour, for lack of better words. And I don't think that if you don't meet her with that type of energy, that she's not going to be laying hands on you. But Giselle just has to be extra, as always. So Ashley shows up with Baby Dean again. I guess Michael just is not going to watch this child. Michael is just like, nah, I just make the money. You can watch the baby. And her nanny, she said, or the babysitter wasn't available, so she had to bring him. I think Ashley probably brought Baby Dean as a buffer because, okay, she knows I may not get my ass kicked holding the baby. I mean, nobody really knows what's going to happen with Monique. So I think everybody is just kind of taking necessary precautions. But she shows up with baby Dean as normal. And she comes in and she tells them that she talked to Monique. She talked to Monique. And Monique said that she was very sorry. Nobody's buying it. Robin says that that's a lie because Robin saw a tweet that Monique put out that said, "Ask and you shall receive." And this was right after the fight happened. So she knows or feels in her, heart that Monique is full of it. She's not sorry about anything. But they haven't even given this woman a chance yet, but whatever. So Monique calls Chris while she's on her way to the house, and she just tells him that she's nervous because she kind of feels like everybody already has their minds made up about her or whether or not they want to understand or forgive her for what happened. And he just tells her to go in there, speak her piece, and hopefully things will work out. But Wendy arrives and she talks about how the blogs got a hold of this information so quick. And so she's convinced that Monique has gone out on this smear campaign, kind of putting the information out there like this fight was Candiace's fault and that Monique is not as innocent as she is gonna try and lead them to believe. And she thinks that Monique's camp was responsible for it. And they all agree that violence was not the answer and that she could have handled this in a different way. But Ashley, in her weak attempt to try and defend Monique or deflect or whatever you want to call it, she just says, because they're talking about how us black women need to be held to such a higher standard and we should represent so much more than fighting and what was displayed that night. And Ashley asks, well, do we hold the men to this same standard? And everybody's like, oh no, we're not talking about the men. We're talking about what Monique and her actions, as if Candiace didn't play a single part in this. And for the life of me, I cannot understand why they're not looking at this situation as two women who got together and were just wilding out. They are all just wanting to point the finger at one woman, but whatever. So Candiace, we see her and she's going to see her therapist and she starts crying before they even get started. He's already got the tissue on hand ready to hand it to her because she hasn't even gotten any words out about what happened and she just starts crying. And the therapist, he asks her to recall the incident and she's telling him this. And from what I understand, he kind of gathers that, Candiace did engage and Candiace, he wanted her to recognize whether or not she provoked the situation or, her part in this situation. And Candiace is convinced and she just says that she didn't do anything. He asks her, because when she was telling him the story, he asked her, well, did you put your hand in her face? Because she's telling him that Monique was saying, get your hand out of my face. And so he asked, well, was your hand in her face? And she tells him no, but production does show Candiace flinging and flailing her hand, because she talks with her hands. But her hands must have gotten a little too close to Monique's face. And she said that she didn't. Let her tell it. She sat there with her arms crossed and her legs crossed the whole time with no movement whatsoever because she's confused as to why the fight even started. But then we go to Karen's house. We're back at her house. Monique arrives and the tension is high and you can tell that it's so thick. Everybody is kind of on edge and they watch Monique come in and she's already canceled to them. You can already tell they have canceled Monique by the looks on their face. Wendy has a look on her face. Giselle has a look on her face. Robin has a look on her face. The only two people in that house who are receptive or willing to listen to what she has to say seems to be Karen and Ashley. So she comes in and she tells them that she does not want to be defined by that one bad choice that she made. And she keeps saying that she blacked out once the glass hit her face, or once she was hit in the face with the wine, and that she doesn't recall what happened after that. And she didn't come to again until production was pulling her off of Candiace. But production rolls the tape and they show her giving a play-by-play of what happened when she was telling the driver or somebody in the truck on her way home what went down. So I think Monique is lying about that. She needs to stop using the "I blacked out" story, because nobody is buying that, and I don't even think she buys it herself, but it just sounds plausible, or it just sounds like something that you would say to kind of explain why you whap somebody in the head 5 or 6 times over a table full of wine. But that's neither here nor there. Now we have Giselle, who has her phone out and she's taking notes and rolling her eyes the whole time that Monique is trying to explain her part or her side of the story. And it's like Robin tells her that you almost had me until you got to the blacked out part, because your face had red wine in it. Candiace's glass had white wine in it. The wine that was in your face was a result of the commotion at the table. Y'all knocked stuff over and you got red wine in your face. Now, I saw something hit her in the face, and I kept rewinding it to see, and I thought that she was hit in the face with a glass, which would explain why her lip was bleeding. And she did have wine in her face, but I didn't notice anything fly up from the table and hit her in the face. I think she was hit with a glass, but they're determined to not believe what she says, and they want to villainize her and they want to cut her off. And Giselle and Wendy are, Giselle at this point, she's pretty quiet. Wendy is just saying that Monique is trying to justify what she did and shouldn't put the violent black woman narrative out there for the world to see. And she goes on to tell us how, when she's on doing her corresponding, how she receives death threats for herself or her family, and she doesn't go out and whoop anybody's ass. She just instead whoops people with words. But I don't think that she has ever been necessarily put in a situation where she's dealing with someone who was a close friend and they're in your face, but everybody, they want to be mad at Monique. They don't feel like Monique is taking ownership of her part in this, that she's not remorseful, she's not apologetic. Everybody thinks that she wants us to believe that, okay, I blacked out, that's why I beat her ass, and that's just that. But they have not heard her say, I'm sorry. And I don't think that they are going to hear her say she's sorry, because according to Monique, she says she doesn't know what she feels at this moment. She doesn't feel remorse. She doesn't feel guilt. She doesn't feel anything, because she feels like she was provoked and antagonized, and that Candiace basically deserved what she got. Now, Candiace mentions at therapy that Monique has not reached out to her, but instead has sent her lackeys out to attack her on the internet. And they show some of the tweets that people were putting out about, I heard you got dragged, I heard you got your ass beat, I heard, this and that. And so she's very emotional about that. She's crying, still crying. And the therapist is still trying to figure out if she, contributed in any kind of way to cause this. Because from her explanation, it just seems like Monique attacked her out of nowhere. She did acknowledge that she talks with her hands, but she says her hands were not ever in Monique's face, and Monique just commenced to fighting her. And she's still confused as to why that happened. And he asked her, what would it take for you to forgive Monique? And she says time. But now back at Karen's house, it's Ashley's turn to speak. And Ashley is not really concerned with the fight because she wasn't there. She didn't see it. She didn't know what sparked it. All she's concerned about is Monique's actions going forward, whether or not Monique can handle being in this group. And that's more of what I agree with. Okay, they fought. They both need to apologize to one another. And I know a lot of people say, well, no, Candiace was completely wrong or Monique was completely wrong. They need to apologize to one another because one hurt met another hurt and it collided and it ended in a fight that should not have happened. They were supposed to be better than that. They don't have to be friends. They don't have to be the sisters that they said they were. They can go on about their lives. But an apology does need to take place from both parties. And they don't have to speak to each other ever again in life. But I don't think that the women should all jump on Monique, because these are things that Giselle especially, these are things that they have been wanting to say to Monique, but really didn't have the opportunity. The opportunity never really presented itself because she wasn't in the hot seat for anything. Because last season, even though she was pregnant, she was trying to be more peaceful and she was trying to make up with Giselle and she was trying to be more of a friend. She did have that little rift with Candiace, but they apologized and moved on from that. So they couldn't really jump on her as they wanted to. But Monique says that she hasn't apologized. Oh, no, before that. Giselle decided, to speak her piece. She brought up all the times, that Monique tried to get at them and basically concluded that Monique was a liability and she did not want to be around her anymore. So she gets up and excuses herself. Monique dismisses her. She leaves. Her and her bodyguard, they left. And Monique just, carries on, and she says that she hasn't apologized to Candiace because she felt like she was antagonized. She does not feel like she has done anything wrong at this moment. Now, Wendy starts getting loud and extra emotional. Now, y'all know I normally ride with Wendy. I will ride with Wendy, but this was kind of crazy because she started hollering and yelling, and Ashley sitting next to her with baby Dean. She had to get up because Wendy's clapping and just getting buck about the situation. So Ashley gets up with the baby and kind of moves across the room, and Karen's trying to calm her down because she's getting a little emotional and you getting a little animated also. So we need to just kind of simmer down a little bit. And she's just telling her that she was supposed to fight with her words and not with her fists, and that she does not seem to be remorseful and sorry. So they don't really understand what the purpose of this meeting is. If you didn't come to apologize, you just basically came to try and get us to be on your side, to understand why you did what you did. And Monique, at this point, says that, this show is starting to take her out of character and she may not need to be around this group of women. She may not need to be a part of it. Karen and Ashley are both like, no, 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 no. You need to like, and Karen was trying to talk, but she was interrupting Monique, and she was just getting emotional herself. And Monique was like, no, let me finish. And she just basically felt like if, she's going to be judged for whatever, and these women make her want to fight, then she probably doesn't need to be in this group. And so Ashley suggests, okay, well, maybe you need to take a break, make it temporary, but we don't want you to leave. And they never concluded whether or not she would take a break, or if she would just completely walk away. But Robin says, yes, we do know that Candiace has a mouthpiece on her. Candiace does make you want to smack her sometimes, but being the women that we are and in the positions that we are in, we can't go around smacking people. That's just not how we're supposed to get down. Although Robin was the one trying to turn up on Ashley at their Australian food restaurant a while ago, and Giselle was kind of in the back, kind of, egging her on, like, hyping her up. But I guess they've grown since then, or they can do it, but nobody else can. But whatever, we ain't gonna talk about that. That was in the past. But at the end, make a long story short, Robin and Wendy are not sold. They're like, yeah, something in the milk ain't clean. We don't believe this, whatever that Monique tried to put on. She leaves. Everybody leaves at this point. And that's pretty much where the show ended. It was basically just focused on Monique. We got a little sprinkle of Candiace and her emotions. They showed us a preview for the rest of the season, which definitely seems to be action-packed. So I'm excited to see that. If there was anything that I left out, I'm kind of liking the interaction that I'm getting with the viewers, people who are watching, and people are giving me their thoughts. I'm giving, my feedback, I'm responding, and other people are kind of interacting and mixing into those comments. I'm really enjoying that. Do more of that, please. Now, also, please don't forget to like this video, comment, and subscribe to my channel. And I'm gonna let y'all go. Y'all enjoy the rest of y'all's night, and I will see you later. Peace.